decided to pull out onion because the sun is still not burning, and that's a good time for pulling it out. That is onion from one row. Look at that. I'm so satisfied with it. I'm not a big fan of it, but I really enjoy the fact that you can get such harvest and I still have a lot to take out. I'm just happy because for several years we had really small onion, and I think I know how to grow it like that, but still I need to try out my theory during the next year. That is from the second row, and the rows are really small, you know. I'm heading for the local shop to buy something sweet for tea. I can't drink tea without anything. That's my habit. I know that's a bad habit, but I can't do anything with myself. The shops here are very small and the variety is rather scarce. I will try to show you the inside of the shop, but I don't think I will manage to do that because they're so tiny. It's like, you know, poking a camera into the face of a salesperson. That's something I don't like to do. From a little far, the ponytail is actually hiding behind the bushes. Yeah, and it's as if we don't have it at all. Those little stalks started flying, so from time to time they return back to the nest. Right now, probably catching some wind. Initially there was one shop in the village, but recently 2 other shops opened. They were opened by locals, and they opened them in their houses, and they are a bit far from this one, or like not pretty far in terms of a walking distance. Здравствуйте, дайте, пожалуйста, где-то 400 грамм печенья, такого в шоколаде там есть, маленечко. Все.
10-50
По карте. That's one of the things I bought for tea. In Russian, that's called zephyr, and actually the only equivalent for it in English is marshmallow, but it tastes differently.
Another thing that I really enjoy are the biscuits and chocolate dipping. These ones are my favorite. I'm going to plant cucumbers for late harvest. At least I'll try. Today is the 1st of August, and definitely it's not a good time for planting cucumbers, but I'm going to leave them in the polytunnel. And also it will be a sort of an experiment, because those cucumbers that we have in the polytunnel, they aren't feeling good from the moment we planted them, and I really want to see whether that's the problem with the soil or with the light and sun. And I'm going to plant them in the pots, but I will use really good quality soil that I'm sure it's not infected with anything. Taking the soil from behind the barn, because it's really good. And we used to have pigs in here in the barn, so the soil turns out to be so great that the raspberry in here is like, I think, 2.5 meters long. They're so huge, and it's even hard for me to reach the tip of the raspberry. And it's not anything like in our garden, so the soil should be really good. Yeah, look at that, how huge. So I'm going to show what's going on in here. I mean, look about this disease. First of all, the eggplants are infected, even though we have eggplants, but they're not healthy at all. I don't like it. The same with watermelons. These leaves are actually okay. I've cut the major part of them yesterday. They were like that. Yeah, and I mean, even those watermelons that are formed, they just dry out. For example, like this one, it won't grow or anything, it will just dry out, and that's it. The same with cabbage. You see what's going on all the time, even though I used fungicide for the soil, and anything I do doesn't work out. Tomatoes are actually fine. They're healthy when you look at the leaves, and I mean, the bunches are really good. And now let's look at the cucumbers. I also removed the major part of the leaves, but look at the pattern of yellowish, and they just turn like this and they dry out. And I really want to check whether or not that's the soil, that's the problem with the soil, or with what exactly. I'm dealing with it for the first time. Of course, I have the polytunnel only for several months just for this season, so I still cannot know for sure what the problem could be. And I really want to check whether that's the soil or not. If it is the soil, then I think I will remove several centimeters of it and replace it for the next year. So I'm going to place those 2 pots with cucumbers in here, because that's the sunny part, and we will see. I don't think the cabbage will grow here because it's infected again. All the pots are in place. Now waiting for them to sprout. They usually sprout quicker, especially right now because it's very hot. The only thing that I need to do is just to keep them hydrated, because the soil in the pots tends to dry up quicker than just in beds. day is approaching its end. It's almost sunset, closer to the sunset, and the street lights don't work on our side of the street. So basically, like, you know, when they say silence is deafening, in here darkness is blinding. It's not really scary or anything, it's just very uncomfortable when you kind of look around and you want to catch a glimpse of light, but there isn't anything. Of course, people buy lanterns, street lanterns, that they place outside their houses. But it's so unusual, especially nowadays when you live in a city or in a town or even in the countryside. When you look up at the sky, it's almost impossible to see stars, bright sky outside because of light pollution. In here, that's completely opposite, and I really love this wild tone to it. Lanterns that I placed actually small, and they work from small, tiny solar batteries. This one actually has a light ornament. That's rather beautiful, and it's just a simple one. I hope that it will be more powerful than that one, because previously I checked it and it wasn't so bright, but at least that is this glimpse of light I will be searching for when I will be outside. And this cabbage started appearing, and I used tobacco dust around the sprouts because it claims to protect from different insects, and cabbage is very susceptible to various insects, so I really want to see how it works out. Dusk garden becomes a huge shade, and the setting sun is leaving the trace, and it's going further to the birches. And I really love the sounds of crickets and grasshoppers. I'm not sure whether you will be able to hear the sounds because they're so faint.